aggressive handshakes lately. This is not break your teammates' fingers time.
He's just excited for the jump. Yeah. Jump, it's on!
I feel like the Timberwolves have been particularly victimizing each other. I don't know what's going on. Welcome to The Jump. Karl Anthony Towns is excited, and you should be too. I'm Rachel Nichols. Minal Hassan is back, and of course, the NBA's leading scorer of all time, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And Kareem, I am very glad you in particular are here today because I was minding my own business last night, watching the Cavaliers play the Timber Pups, and this happens. LeBron James.
Wow.
Let's discuss, please, how much is going on here. LeBron doesn't just look off the defenders. His head goes completely the other way, two hands between Andrew Wiggins' legs to a moving target in Derek Williams. Look, this comes less than 2 weeks after LeBron pulled off this driving left-handed hook pass to Kevin Love. I mean, his passing is getting just ridiculous, and this is considering he's a player who already had a phenomenal catalog of dimes to choose from. Remember this one on Timo Mozgov?
Oh, this was one of my favorites.
Right?
Yeah.
Boom.
Perfect bounce.
You want to see this again, right?
Yeah.
Come on.
Look at that.
Not even looking. And how about the behind-the-back gem to Eric Dampier? He had a couple of these to Damp, but look at this one.
Damp almost messed up the catch.
LeBron has so much range when it comes to his passing game. I love that one to RJ because it's not just the force he uses and the accuracy over distance, but he's just slicing through Gortat and Sessions.
Yeah, getting it through moving bodies.
Right, moving bodies.
Right on the money.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So all of this got us at The Jump thinking about how the NBA has these great all-time players, the ones who weren't just known for their passing, but were still Hall of Fame level passers. I call this the Wayne Gretzky paradigm, as in Gretzky, still the NHL's all-time assist leader. But it's not like he was a career setup man. He was also Wayne Gretzky. LeBron, one of the best passers of his generation. Oh, but by the way, he's also LeBron James in his spare time. So who else is in this category? Remember, guys like Jason Williams, Jason Kidd, John Stockton, they are out. Passing was the lifeblood of what those guys did, so that's not who we're talking about here. Larry Bird, though? Definitely on this list. Look at this. I mean, and watch. Look at this one.
He'll let you know about it, too. That's the best part.
Now, as for Oscar Robertson, we don't have a ton of video to back it up, but I'm going to trust folks like Kareem, who watched and played against Oscar.
Played with him, huh?
Played with Oscar. Would say he's on this list, too. Of course, yes. And of course, like all good sports arguments, the trouble when you start trying to define the parameters, I say Magic Johnson qualifies. I mean, yes, of course.
Cheating.
If you had to say the greatest thing about him, you would say it's his passing. But he was so elite in so many other ways, I want to put him on here. Amin has already started arguing with me about this, saying if you're going to say that about Magic, he says you also have to say this about two-time MVP Steve Nash. Now, I don't know. We know Shaquille O'Neal, for example, would certainly argue that Nash is more in the Jason Kidd, white chocolate category. Amin feels otherwise. And then what about players like Chris Webber, right? Tremendous passer, known for something else besides passing.
Should be a Hall of Famer.
Well, okay, he's not in the Hall of Fame yet, though. Is he elite enough overall of a player to be in this discussion? And on the other side, you've got Steph Curry, definitely elite enough. Would you consider his passing, though, Hall of Fame level in and of itself? And I don't know. I mean, only if we had one of the greatest players of all time here to help us out. Oh, wait, we did. You would put Oscar on that list.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, Oscar did things that you have no idea. I wished he could have played with the three-point line because he had incredible range, but he didn't have the three-point line to test it. So we'll never know on that one.
Yes, and the passing, of course, was at Magic. Now, do you agree with me that Magic is more in the category of...
for a year. That's incredible, and nobody's going to do that.
My thing is this. You said guys who passing wasn't the lifeblood of the game. When you say Magic Johnson, the first thing that comes to anybody's mind is passing. He was the greatest passer that we've seen in this league ever.
I agree with you. This is where this gets sticky, but he just did so many other things. I wouldn't say him to Jason Kidd.
So did Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd wasn't just a passer. He was a tremendous rebounder as a guard. He's a tremendous defensive player.
Magic Johnson was Magic Johnson.
But see, you just wanted Magic highlights. That's my whole point.
And you know, the World Championships kind of distort everything because we're not doing it on the individual's talent.
Right.
But on the achievements of the team. And that kind of distorts that because the individual kind of loses in that scene.
Bill Walton, Bill Russell?
Tough. Oh, geez, tough. And basically the same guy in different generations.
Right.
Playing it from the defensive end down to the offensive end and making it work.
You want Sabonis?
Sabonis. I think people don't appreciate what a great passer and what a great player he was before he got hurt.
That's what's tough about him.
Yeah.
He probably would be in that super elite conversation if he had played in the NBA for a different section of his career.
And the last one we were talking about right before we went on air was Wilt. He led the league in assists 1 year. I mean, he had it in him when he wanted to be.
I'm never kicking Wilt off anywhere.
Sam Lacey, that's right.
Anywhere.
Another one.
Sam Lacey was a great passer, unsung.
This could set you to YouTube, people. Yeah. We started this whole thing talking about LeBron, who is also on the cover of the new issue of ESPN magazine. Our friend Pablo Torre wrote a really interesting story here. It's on LeBron's business and entertainment companies and how he's setting up for the next phase of his career. And such an important distinction here is the way LeBron has ownership of these situations. Guys like Shaq and, of course, Kareem got to be in movies. LeBron owns the movie company. Now, I mean, is this a power dynamic that other players can follow, can emulate?
You know, it's funny. I just recorded a podcast with Pablo that's going to be out on the True Hoop Network later today talking about this. And I say no because he's the exception. He's not the rule. And I likened it to when people see a 6'4" or 6'5" power forward in college who's dominating and say, oh, this guy has what it takes at the next level. And you question it at that size, and people say, well, Charles Barkley did it. Charles Barkley is special. There aren't Charles Barkleys just growing everywhere and they just haven't been given a chance. He was special. LeBron is special in his level of leverage and influence. I don't know if other players can emulate it because they don't have those same gifts.
I have to agree. Another player like Charles, Adrian Dantley.
Yes.
6'4.5" and plays on the front line and gets away with it for a whole career and did an incredible job. Undersized,
But when we talk about off the court, with the money these guys make now, I agree. LeBron is special because I think in Pablo's article they talk about being a clutter cutter, right? That his name just cuts through that media clutter and everybody knows who he is. But guys have so much extra money now that they didn't have back decades ago. Who could we be talking about? That they can start their own production companies. That they don't have to work for someone else, even in areas like this, right?
I'm glad that people like LeBron are thinking in those terms because his community needs it.
Right.
The black communities need entrepreneurs that can set up businesses so that the people in those communities can realize their ambitions with black ownership. And that's going to make a difference.
And that's a huge part, obviously, of what he's doing.
He's making a difference in Northern Ohio.
I'm stopping you because I want Kareem story time. Okay. You cannot jump into Kareem story time.
I was going to give a Kareem compliment.
Okay, go.
Saying that other people can emulate what LeBron does is like saying that other basketball players can now be historians and write books because Kareem did it. No,
well,
Kareem's special.
No, Kareem
That's
is
why
special.
he's able to do it,
right,
not because he's a basketball player.
I want story time with Kareem. So please, now that this is giving us an excuse to ask you about your Hollywood career. Exactly. Airplane, right? I was this morning watching Bruce Lee videos of you. What sort of, when people say, tell me a story, what's your good story here?
I met Bruce when I was going to UCLA, and I had started studying martial arts in New York, and I wanted to continue. And the guy over at Black Belt Magazine directed me to Bruce. He said that he had time, and he was just working on a movie,
Everybody
a TV
had
series.
time for you?
No, he was doing The Green Hornet.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he had time, and I started working with him, and of course, he won me over. The way he did it, he said, "Dear, show me how you can punch and kick." I went at the bag a little bit. He brought his wife out, said, "Stand behind the bag and let her kick it." She kicked it, and
oh, wow.
Well, and I was like, oh, okay. Maybe I better learn this.
Oh, man.
And the movie you were in with him turned out to be the last movie he ever did.
Yeah, it's the last one. We never really finished it, Game of Death.
Although the clips are obviously all out there, and people in the Bruce Lee canon know it, for sure. Absolutely. All right, before we leave the topic of LeBron, I do want to do a running check on the conversation we've been having all season. LeBron James minutes. He insists this is not having any effect on how he plays and said yesterday, quote, "I will rest when I retire." I, for one, think the Cavs are playing it too close to the margins here, and it could cost them come June. I mean, again, think about it. If LeBron has just, say, an inch less lift on that chase down block from the finals, where are they? Anyway,
wow. That's great effect.
We're starting, I don't know about the sound effect. We're starting the LeBron mileage meter, though, here on the jump. We'll be tracking his minutes from the previous game. You can see that, 39 minutes, 30 seconds last night. what he's averaging. He's at 37.6. He's still sitting at number 2 in the entire league, and barely, by the way, behind Kyle Lowry, despite that LeBron is 32 years old. Of course, the flip side of all these minutes, guys, right, is that he's using them so well. Dave McMenamin on ESPN.com pointed out today his efficiency is just off the charts. He is basically putting up better numbers than in his first MVP season. So, I mean, now that Love is out, especially, we know LeBron's minutes are going to be high, and we know what he is doing with them. James Harden, Russell Westbrook. Is LeBron forcing himself back into the MVP conversation?
I think so, particularly if they remain competitive and keep winning games and don't have any drop-off. Steve Nash, who we've already mentioned once on the show, his second MVP, I think a lot of it was built around the fact that Amari Stoudemire was hurt that entire season, and people thought the Suns would miss the playoffs, would struggle and suffer, and instead they won 54 games. They were a top 3 seed in the conference. They went to the conference finals. Look, that's a lot of that was like, wow, Steve Nash, you really, really are that great. And I think for LeBron James, this is, I don't know how important it is to him, but it's definitely something that he can win.
I'd have to agree with it that, LeBron really needs to pace himself because the important part of the season is coming up. So, he needs to get a little bit more rest and focus on that. And I can see why he was complaining about not having enough bodies on the bench. When you have important people like Love go down.
Yes.
So, but he stepped up to the challenge. I mean, his leadership is off the chart in that sense. He's there. He's not some kind of prima donna. He's the real deal.
I just think he's in the conversation now. I'm sorry. I know people take him for granted what he does, but, I mean, he's just going out and doing it every night, and we've seen what happens when that team is without him.
Isaiah Thomas, not so much. Not in the conversation.
We have to take a good break. When we get back, we will ask a former number 1 pick, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, about the current number 1 pick who is yet to play, Ben Simmons. Should the Sixers I can't speak. You do it.
To the Sixers, trust the process.
There we go. Raise the cat, people. Welcome back to The Jump. Now, I thought we could go a day without talking about James Dolan and Charles Oakley, but apparently no, because Draymond Green has weighed in. This was on his Uninterrupted Dre Day podcast. He's frustrated that Dolan liked Charles Oakley when it was his tough guy, but when Oakley is tough on Dolan, well, here's the quote. You doing it for me, it's all good. You doing it against me, you speaking out against my organization, it's not good anymore? Draymond says that's a slave mentality, a slave master mentality. That's ridiculous. It was all fine and dandy when he was laying people out, taking fines and all this stuff for your organization. But now all of a sudden when he says something he feels, it's a problem. Kareem, how do you feel about Draymond using this kind of language?
Well, I don't know. Draymond's taking on the people at the top of the NBA hierarchy. I think he should be careful. These people have a lot of resources, and they might not like that. So
I think he's right?
I don't know. I don't know Mr. Dolan well enough. I don't know what the situation is.
It's a heavy accusation.
And I'm going to mind my business.
I think what Draymond is trying to get at is the sense of entitlement that owners feel like they're possession. These things are possessions, and if my phone stops working, I'm going to chuck it, right? And so Charles Oakley stopped being functional for Jim Dolan, so he tried to chuck him out of the arena. I think there is an element to that. Obviously, when you use slave terms and all that, it's a charge.
Trigger, right?
And you're going to turn off a lot of people with that language who won't even get to the actual point of the message.
It's tough because I don't think there's any question that race is an underlying factor in this whole situation. You have James Dolan, again, this is not to say that James Dolan is a racist. I want to be very clear about that. You can still say things with racial implications, though. And to go out and paint Charles Oakley as an angry black man, right, and dangerous and all of the things that he did.
And substance abuse,
and it's sort of all of these stereotypes. And then to that element of on Sunday when he brought Latrell Sprewell and those guys in, look at all my black friends. I mean, there are things that happen in this that can make you uncomfortable without going all the way to the steps of saying, this is this person's character. And I don't know if Draymond crossed that line or not.
Just remember, Chris Childs on our podcast said, was Matt Fish not available? Why were all the players he brought back black?
No. All right, I want to talk about Ben Simmons. Brett Brown told our Jeff Goodman, quote, I fully expect Simmons to play this season. But Brown told the Philadelphia media earlier this week that Simmons is progressing, quote, at a very slow pace, our pace. And he made Simmons' chances of playing this season seem slim. I mean, I don't know, Kareem, we say trust the process, right, with the timetable for Ben Simmons.
Ben Simmons is a young man. He's going to heal. He has a lot of potential talent. The 76ers are wise to just take this hit for this year because he's a young man and he's gonna learn. And apparently they like him. He's got a good character. I met the young man. Nice young man. And I'm sure that they don't mind investing a year or two in him to see what they got because he does have the potential.
How cool would it be to be a player and have Kareem just give you the seal of approval on national TV? It's awesome. Continue.
Let me give you another seal of approval.
So good.
Kareem's right. There's no rush. What are we rushing for? Why are we in such a hurry to get him on the court? Let him be not only fully healed, but also mentally confident. Because the last thing you want is him favoring anything or playing gingerly or not going full speed because he's still not confident in his body strength. And so I don't see anything wrong with waiting. It's not like you guys aren't used to losing. I mean,
oh, come on.
I mean, I'm just saying.
That's not nice. They have been doing better. That is not nice. Kareem, is there any danger, though, that he could get frustrated and sort of you could lose him mentally a little bit if you don't engage him in games?
No, I don't think so. I think someone like that is going to be even more eager to come and prove himself because they took a chance on him and they're showing some courage there, and they're sticking with him. So I'm sure he's going to want to prove himself and do the best he can.
By the way, what better mentor through this to have than Joel Embiid and also Nerlens Noel. Both those guys went through that process, so he's got people he can lean on.
Trust the process. Monday night, the Spurs clinched their 20th straight winning season with a win over the Pacers. They broke a tie with the Jazz, who had ran off 19 straight winning seasons. The Lakers, and thanks in part to Kareem, reeled off 16 straight seasons with wins, 1973 to 1992. That is not the Lakers we know and see today. How impressive has the Spurs run been? And you and I have talked about this, too. It's not just that they put together all these seasons. It's the way Pop has adjusted their playing style, right?
This is testament to this is the greatest sports organization that we have in this country. Because
I don't know if I go all the way there.
What other franchise can you name that's top to bottom as on point for as long as they've been successful to a championship level?
I'd say his Lakers teams were pretty good.
But are they now? I'm saying the best sports organization in America right now is the San Antonio Spurs. I mean, so
I think you got to give credit to Coach Popovich for being able to teach the game to guys that come out and they don't have a complete college career, but he's able to fill in those things that they don't know and seemingly without any effort. And they get used to the system and they do well. Tim Duncan, people like that, who was a 4-year guy in college. But he teaches the game to them as to how to play it in the pro ranks. And they absorb it and fit into a system almost seamlessly.
All the Bristol people in the control room in my ear are upset with you about the Patriots, but we'll move on from that. The Spurs did, you remember, destroy the Warriors by 29 points, right? Back on opening night. They just completed this again. Okay, you're saying they're the best organization in pro sports right now. Do you guys see them as legit threats to Golden State in the end when it comes down to it?
A good defensive team like San Antonio always has a chance. And they can turn it around on you in the playoffs, especially when they have time to prepare. So don't count them out.
Yeah, absolutely. The Warriors are the favorites, and they should be the favorites. And I always, my philosophy is when you have a favorite versus an underdog, there's chances that the underdog has to win. There are alternate universes where it turns out to be successful, but a certain set of circumstances has to happen.
Right.
I think about what happened to us in Phoenix playing the Lakers in 2010. We knew two things. One, the triangle offense is built for man-to-man, and if we went to a 2-3 zone, that would throw them for a loop.
Right.
And two, we knew that the trust was very fragile, that if we get Kobe Bryant to break his trust with his teammates and try to go rogue, that they would fall apart. And we almost got those two things to happen. We still ended up losing the series because they adjusted to the 2-3 zone eventually. But the point is, they're the favorites. We knew they were better than us, but we thought there are certain circumstances that can happen where we can beat them. And if you're the Spurs, you feel the same way.
Yeah. I mean, certainly wouldn't count them out. We've got to take a quick break, but first, here's our distant replay from this date in 2011.
Is it Vince Carter?
It's going to be Vince Carter sometime soon. You know it is.
Jumper bounds off. Dwayne Wade has a rebound.
Right?
Long hit from LeBron.
This was a great play.
So good.
Amazing connection.
Yeah, his middle
See?
name is Dan
They should have been on our list. These two together, though, that's great passes. tonight on ESPN and ESPN2. Just like last season, we have our college announcers jump to the NBA, and the NBA guys get to go back to college. And it's all happening. The Jump is headed to New Orleans tomorrow and Friday for All-Star Weekend. 90-minute shows. We're calling it Jump Fest 2017. We've got dozens of special guests stopping by. And, hey, you can come, too, if you're in the area. You can go to oneiota.com for tickets to join us in the audience. All right, UCLA freshman point guard Lonzo Ball, currently the second highest rated NBA prospect, according to Chad Ford's big board. And Lonzo's father told TMZ Sports, "You can't compare my boy to anyone. He's going to be better than Steph Curry in the NBA." Kareem, what do you think?
Well, I think that Alonzo's dad doesn't need to put that kind of pressure on him.
There we go.
You should just let him have fun in college for however long he's going to stay there and then see what's going to happen. But he absolutely has the potential, and he wants it. So we'll see what happens.
He's fun to watch, but I agree. Too much pressure. What do you think, my friend? You kill me with these. Analog meme time. There we go.
Sugar cookies.
Make skills. Make or miss time, kids. Speaking of the Lakers, they lost to the Kings thanks to DeMarcus Cousins' game-sealing bucket. I mean, how worried should teams be? The bookie looks like Dirk here.
Not at all, because he plays for the Kings.
Oh, come on.
I'm just saying, they shouldn't be worried.
Do you like watching this?
Yeah, it was fun. I was at the game.
Well, I don't. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the legend next to you. What do you think? What's your take on Boogie, Kareem?
I think Boogie needs to just get serious about what he's doing.
Well, this was pretty good, right?
No, I mean, no, he's a talented young man, but he needs to focus on his job.
All right. Well, he does more of that. People are going to like it. That's it for
that's
today.
right.
Thank you to Kareem, as always. Thank you to Amin. You get less clapping. We will see you in New Orleans, though.